So I just made a video called Top 5 Threats to Valentina Shevchenko, and I thought to myself once I was done with it, what other video could I make today, and what could I make that video about? And I thought to myself, well, I was just speaking about Valentina Shevchenko. Speaking of dominant female champions, I could make a video on Amanda Nunes and this huge problem, which is, more specifically, the 145-pound female division of featherweight. I have my opinions on this, and I don't think this is shared by anyone else in the MMA community. I know the fans probably are going to rejoice at me saying this right now because I feel like this has been on everyone's mind, but no analyst, no personality in the scene has really spoke out against it yet. In my opinion, they should terminate completely the women's 145-pound featherweight division because it's just an embarrassment to the sport, I believe, at this point, and it does us no favors. And at a time when people were demanding an 165-pound men's division, surely you can make way by removing this 145-pound female division, because I know Dana White's argument, he doesn't want to have too many champions, but Nunes is allowed to do whatever she wants, and this girl who's got 2 fights in the UFC is going to fight for the belt, or this girl that's 2-2 in Felicia Spencer is going to earn herself a title shot, or Megan Anderson's going to earn herself a title shot even though she's 3-2 overall in her UFC career. It's a little bit of a joke. I feel like everyone wants the 165-pound men's division, and no one at all asked for the women's featherweight division, but that's the one we've got because, of course, Chris Cyborg had to come into the UFC somehow, and she can't make 135 pounds, so she needed the featherweight division. But now that Cyborg's gone, what are we still doing here? We waiting until Nunes gets legacy from all of these bums that are going to make her look better than she actually is. I like Nunes' skill, but what I don't like is the reaction of the MMA commentators when they see her fight with these girls like Megan Anderson. Megan Anderson's 11-4. She hasn't fought good competition. She's 3-2 in the UFC. And if Amanda Nunes beats her, they're going to act like Israel Adesanya, who'd just taken the light heavyweight belt and has just defended it against like Jiri Prochaska or something. I mean, I can't take it anymore. The women's featherweight division needs to be removed. I'm foaming at the mouth. I can't keep my saliva in. The women's featherweight division needs to be removed. And I think just by removing it, it would add so much to the other divisions because it would create more movement. All of the women's featherweights, in my opinion, other than maybe Megan Anderson, could probably make women's bantamweight, and probably quite safely as well. Felicia Spencer, not fat. I'm not going to say she's a fat girl, but I am going to say that maybe she could trim off a little bit to make the 135-pound division. I'm sure we can all agree on that. And I feel like Norma Dumont is a bantamweight, proven by the fact that she just signed a fight against the bantamweight at the end of this month, next week actually, or not next week, but a couple of weeks from now at the end of November. Looking forward to that one. She's now moved down to the bantamweight division. Sarah Dos Santos is 0-2 in the women's featherweight division. You know what that means? Oh, no, I know you just said she's going to get cut out loud while you watch my video, but no, that means if she wins her next one, she'll get a title shot against Amanda Nunes, and Nunes will add to her legacy of beating absolute cans in the featherweight division. I don't know why they're doing this. Don't get me wrong, they're good fighters. I just feel like we're not being honest about the situation here. There's 5 of them! There's 5 of them! This is not like oh, we're going to have to cut the men's flyweight division. We've only got 20 of them. There's 5. Including Nunes. Including the champion. There's 4 contenders. Fair enough if we were adding them at record speed. Like, Dana White has just signed another 3 women's featherweights from Asia. And now he signed another 2 from Australia. And here comes a couple from Europe as well. We're not doing that, though. Very clearly, either someone's not looking in Scandinavia for big women, or there are no women's featherweights on the regional scene, because that's all I can come up with, to be honest with you guys. I don't get it. Remove it, and it will just make everything better. Felicia Spencer could add to the women's bantamweight division. Megan Anderson could add to the women's... No, she couldn't. Chop off her leg, Megan Anderson, and add to the women's bantamweight division. I know it's hard to remove people's career, but like... I don't know how to adapt this into the real world, but this happens. If there are not enough people in a job because there is not enough demand for that job, then that job goes out. You can't just keep it up to make Nunes look really good and just give her something to do in the meantime other than destroying the women's bantamweights. It's a problem. in my opinion, and we're lying to ourselves, and I don't want to see John Anik scream after a Nunes KO at featherweight against Megan Anderson going, how does she do it? Amanda Nunes proves as the greatest of all time. Like, I don't want to hear that being given to her when she's a queen of a division with 4 contenders. That's a joke. The women that won on the featherweight division on Tough all want to go down to the bantamweight division of the UFC. You know, like I know the UFC tried to make the women's featherweight division on Tough. They tried to maybe get a roster together, and then what happened? All of them went to the bantamweight division. You should tell by that sign that maybe we need to get rid of the women's featherweight division because it's on their website, man. It's on there. No, it isn't. It's not even. Here's how you know the UFC knows this is a problem. Go to the UFC rankings. Type in on your search bar, if you're on the computer, sorry iPhone or phone-using noobs that watch YouTube videos on their phone and don't dwell behind their desk and computer screen all day, every day. Go to UFC.com/rankings and look for the female featherweight division. It doesn't exist on there. Okay? It doesn't exist. It does exist. There are 4 contenders, and they have ranking positions. I'll read them out to you right now. Amanda Nunes is the champion. Felicia Spencer's number 1. Megan Anderson's number 2. Norma Jamont's number 3. And Zara Dos Santos is number 4. But the UFC doesn't want to put that on their website. Why doesn't the UFC want to put that on their website? Is it because they're embarrassed by only having 4 contenders? I would imagine so. I feel like add to the bantamweight division. Hey, female bantamweights that are a little bit chubby here and there. Go to the women's flyweight division. Let's condense all of our talent into the 3 divisions that we have. Because I don't know if you've noticed, UFC, but the women's flyweight division is a fucking mess as well right now. I mean, we're finally getting some contenders together, but still, I feel like women's strawweight is fine. They're elite competitors, and they're all really, really good with great records. There's a great talent pool. If you're going to add any division, add a female atomweight division, because there are women's strawweights on the roster that would die for that position to just have a division for themselves that are a little bit small for the women's strawweight division. Tisha Torres, I'm sure, is thinking to herself, oh, God, I could do with a female atomweight division right now, 105 pounds. Add a different division in later on if you want, but I don't think a female featherweight division, just to give Nunes somewhere to go when you can't find an opponent for her, is a good idea. I think it was a lousy business move. They made it on the spot to make one fight against Chris Cyborg. I don't think you should add an entire new bit of infrastructure to your... Sorry, I don't think you should add an entire new bit of infrastructure to your sport just to feed one fight's existence. If you were going to add a new division, I'd want it to be because you've got so many women's featherweights in the regionals that's why you've made the division in the UFC. You've got 50 women's featherweights with decent enough records, and you're willing to condense them down into 20 with some competitions to eventually make up a women's featherweight rankings, but they jumped the gun too early. They've only got 4. And listen, I'm not saying that this can never exist. A women's featherweight division in the next decade probably will exist. There are more and more women that are getting into the sport, and I think it's amazing. But they own other companies on the regional shows. And Dana White even said in his Contender Series interview that the reason why the Contender Series might not come back until the end of next year in the summer, and the problems that he's going to have until then, is finding more people from the regional shows to put on the Contender Series, because there aren't many regional shows going on right now. And Dana White in that interview even said he's going to end up buying more regional shows and paying them through Fight Pass to fund him contenders for his UFC, for the show of the Contender Series, for the Ultimate Fighter. That's what they need to do with the women's featherweight division. Buy up a show, or have a show already called Invicta FC. Build a women's featherweight division there. Don't build it in the UFC. Don't have nothing and go, right, we'll start from scratch then, shall we? Because at 165 pounds in the men's division, there'd be 50 men. 50, I reckon, ready to jump in either from regionals or from other divisions in the UFC with good established records that have found their perfect weight class at 165, and you'd have a division after a week. But with women's featherweight, there's clearly a problem. There's not enough talent. Get out there, find the talent, or if I'm assuming they have tried to find the talent and they just can't find it around the world, because Gabby Garcia, I mean, they're hardly going to make a women's heavyweight division just for Nunes to fight her, so still, make the division in Invicta FC. That's what I would do. If I was the owner of the UFC right now, I'd think to myself, you know what? We're embarrassed to put it on our website. We're embarrassed to put our own... We're $1 billion company. I'm losing my voice. We are $1 billion company. We owe $4 billion because that's what we were bought for. We are that big of a sport. And we are embarrassed to show the existence of one of our divisions on our website. How about we just remove it after this fight with Megan Anderson, stall up Nunes for now, have the fight with Megan Anderson, hopefully Megan Anderson loses, because if she wins, that's just a whole other fucking problem. Then you're going to have to see, what happens in a Felicia Spencer rematch? So I'd lose my fucking mind. Please, Nunes, beat Megan Anderson, and let's just fucking remove that whole division, man. Remove the whole division and give it a while, because there's clearly not enough people. There is clearly not enough people. It's a problem. They're embarrassed to show it on their website. So, like, if I was in charge of the UFC, I'm saying, hey, Invicta FC, female, I'm just going to try and calm down here and create a rational approach to this if I was the businessman and the brains behind the scenes at the UFC. Invicta FC, here's a female featherweight division. We're going to try and find people from around the world, make them an occasional main event of your shows at Invicta FC. People pay attention to Invicta FC. They get viewers. They do. That's why the UFC has bought them and kept a hold of them, because they must generate some kind of revenue or generate enough talent to where they're worth funding, of course. If the UFC is looking to book up other regional shows, surely Invicta FC is worth funding. Make the female featherweight division. Grab up talent from around the world. Build the division at female featherweight. Within Invicta, okay? Wait until you have top 40 women's Invicta, 40 fighters. No, you know what? Let's go a bit easier. 30 fighters, because I want to try and relate this to the men's flyweight division as well. Get 30 fighters, or 25. Now I'm lowering my own standards. This is the problem, see? Get 25 fighters on the rankings in Invicta FC. Once they're done, take the entire top 15 and chuck them as a whole division into the UFC. Don't just chuck 2 fighters into a division and then expect the rest of them to just come, because they're not gonna. Get the whole division built outside of a company you own in Invicta. Pay them good money for now, because it's going to be worth it in investment later on in your company. Then shimmy the entire division over into the women's featherweight division in the UFC, create a big scene, and have a bunch of fights on for women's featherweights with great talented records. Wait till they're all looking pretty good. I don't want to see top 15 with girls that are 2 and 3 on the top 15. I want to see a top 15 of good fighters that have built a bit of a resume, that are maybe 5-0, 4-1. Like, I won't even mind a 4-1 at this point, looking at some of the female flyweights on the roster. I mean, Ciara Eubanks, for example, like she's a ranked bantamweight right now, and she has barely not a neutral record. So listen, I'm not going to ask for too much here, but have a respectable top 15, shimmy them all over, and then we'll figure things out, and then we'll add more on to the number 15. We'll add in unranked contenders. We're not going to add in, sign a contract, you're the number 6 in the world. Sign a contract, you're number 5 in the world. Win this one fight and you're fighting for the belt. There are people in other divisions, and I know that UFC fighters are thinking this as well, where they're sitting there and they're thinking to themselves, I know they're thinking this about the flyweight division, the men's flyweight division. I know they are. There are men's bantamweights. There are men's welterweights, men's lightweights that have fought 10 times, and they've barely, through their own fault for losing, or if they've gone 7-0 like Arnold Allen, who's not even top 10 in the men's featherweight division, 7-0, 7 fights, an entire career nearly of fights, has only just got to the top 10, and he's watching Megan Anderson barely have a positive record of 3-2, and even just by chance string together some wins against absolute cans, and she's fighting for a world championship. I know that hurts these other fighters in their hearts. I just can sense it. Even though they never say it, because I know the way the world is. They never say it, but I know there's men's featherweights on the roster and men's lightweights that look at Megan Anderson and look at Felicia Spencer and look at these other divisions, like Alex Perez, even this weekend against Iverson Figueiredo. He's won 3 fights in a row, and he lost his fight against Benavidez before that, even though it was some illegal shots in there as well. 3-0, he's getting a title shot. I know they're annoyed by that. So it's either an even playing field to as best as you can do it, or you don't have a fucking division with 5 people in it. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button up there. Just felt like this needed to be said. It was on the top of my mind. Goodbye. Toodle pip.